Okay. Hopefully, wherever you are, you're staying cool. It's very hot out there. Make sure you stay hydrated. That'll be my safety moment. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our Douglas Point Decommissioning 2025 Project Update webinar. I would like to acknowledge that Douglas Point is located on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg Nation, the people of the Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and the Chippewas of Saugeen and Chippewas of Nawash, now known as Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. CNL is committed to building meaningful, respectful relationships with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation and Métis communities in the region. We acknowledge, respect, and seek to better understand Indigenous history, rights, and the title on the lands where we work and develop projects. We honor and respect the importance of the relationship between Indigenous peoples and their lands, waters, and territories. So before we kick off today's presentation, we have a few logistical things to note. There is simultaneous interpretation of this discussion. You can access French through the globe icon on the bottom right on the bar on Zoom. Just select the language you'd like to hear it in. Today's session is planned for about 45 minutes. The presentation and then a Q&A at the end. To submit a question, there's the Q&A icon. So you type in your question at any time, and we will cover it at the end. Note, we will be recording this session because we post the recording on YouTube for people who cannot make it at this time. If you experience any technical issues, please get in touch with us at ermstakeholder@cnl.ca. And we'll try to get you sorted out. We're also looking to evaluate our webinars more in depth. So following the webinar, you'll receive an email to complete a short 10-question survey. We'd really appreciate if you would take the time to share your thoughts on the webinars. During today's webinar, we'll be hearing from Joe Holstead, a manager of decommissioning at Douglas Point, and Margot Thompson, senior communications and Indigenous engagement officer. Joe and Margot will be providing us with an update on recent decommissioning activities at Douglas Point. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Margot to start. Margot, over to you.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone. And again, thank you for joining us today. Although I'm sure it's nice to be in the AC and not out in that heat right now. I'm Margot. As Mike mentioned, I support communications with the public and Indigenous communities for the Douglas Point project. And today, Joe and I will be sharing our annual update with the community on the Douglas Point decommissioning. And so this is our project to remove the buildings, structures, and waste associated with the legacy reactor facility at Douglas Point. That's the first full-scale CANDU nuclear generating station in Canada. And no spoilers, but we have a really interesting update today. Our team has made some substantial visual progress on the decommissioning in the last 12 months. I'll also say, if you like Mike mentioned, if you want to check out our previous webinars on the project, we post everything to our YouTube channel, and there is a Douglas Point playlist on our channel, so you can check out all our previous updates there. So next slide, Carolina. So for today's webinar, first I'll speak to a few of the organizations involved, then I'll turn it over to Joe and he'll share an overview of the project, our recent progress, and some next steps that we have planned. And then I'll share a bit about how the Federal Nuclear Regulator, the CNSC, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, oversees the project. Next slide, Carolina. So as mentioned, we're CNL, Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. CNL is Canada's national nuclear laboratories, and we have a mission to support nuclear science and technology, like health research, and we also do research that supports Canada's nuclear industry and other nuclear science applications. And we also have a mission to restore and protect the environment by cleaning up sites that are owned by Atomic Energy of Canada Limited, or ACL. And that's what we're doing here at Douglas Point. So ACL is our Federal Crown Corporation owner, and they have a mandate to enable nuclear technology and science and to fulfill the Government of Canada's radioactive waste and decommissioning responsibilities. And again, that's what we're doing here at Douglas Point. Then there's the Federal Nuclear Regulator, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, the CNSC, and they regulate the use of nuclear energy and materials in order to protect health, safety, security, and the environment. And they also implement Canada's international commitments on the peaceful use of nuclear energy and help disseminate nuclear information to the public. So here at Douglas Point, CNSC oversees management of radioactive waste, including safe handling, transport, storage, and disposal of radioactive waste. So I'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Well, thank you very much, Margot. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through a bit of a project overview and then some updates and what's coming up. So I'll go to the next slide. All right, so just to locate ourselves, Douglas Point sits within the Bruce Power site. You can see us, we're basically between the two units, but it is administered by CNL. We get security services and stuff like that through Bruce Power though. Well, next. All right, just to talk about the overview of how we are approaching decommissioning, for anybody who's unfamiliar. So we basically have 6 volumes of what are called detailed decommissioning plans, which is how we lay out how we're decommissioning a building. So volume 1 is an overview of the approach. Volume 2, which is also called planning envelope A, as you can see all the buildings labeled A, and those are the non-nuclear buildings. Volume 3 is what we call the nuclear buildings, which is the service building and purification building primarily. Those are the label B there, is planning envelope B. We have the next one, volume 4. That is all the internals of the reactor building, with the exception of the calandria itself and the structure of the reactor building. And that's planning envelope C. So, and just for reference, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are approved with the CNSC. Volume 5 is not being submitted or prepared yet, and that is spent fuel canister area. And volume 6 is the reactor building shell and the actual reactor of the calandria. Go to the next. So this is a kind of a rough timeline. The big thing to note here is about late 2030s, we do plan to be basically finish our mission of decommissioning all the buildings to ground level, underground structures removed and site remediated for industrial reuse. The next slide. So just to quickly touch on where the waste is going. So looking at the waste so far, we're at about 96% recycle or reuse, with a very small amount going to landfill, and hazardous waste. That's mostly ACM and some PCB waste there, and a very small amount of LLW that we weren't able to recycle, which is low level waste. The next slide. All right, let's show some recent progress on the site. Next slide. All right, so the non-nuclear building demolition is well underway. In fact, this photo you see here is from, I believe that was from October or early November. The administration building ancillary that you see on the left, those are totally gone, and the turbine building is about half finished. Go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is and again, this one was probably from a month ago, but you can see that the cladding is being removed. And if you noticed on the right picture, that really big orange gantry crane, that's also now being removed, which was I believe it's the biggest lift we've ever done at Douglas Point. So we were quite proud to get rid of that thing. All right, next slide. So as you can see there, that is good pictures of the gantry crane removal. So to give you an idea, that beam they're lifting on the left is 120,000 pounds. So it's not a small thing by any means. But all that metal is now being cut, processed, and shipped offsite for recycling. Another really big milestone we hit this year is our spent resin storage tanks, which had been emptied in 2019, have now been physically removed from the site, lifted out of their underground vault, and then shipped to a contracted partner we use, who are cleaning the tanks, and those tanks will actually be able to be free release for recycling. Next slide. So what are some next steps? Next. So our characterization efforts are largely complete. However, there's some additional to be done on the reactor itself. We have additional isolation tanks now so non-nuclears are done. For the nuclear side, it's mostly being about characterizing it and removing wastes. This is asbestos, mercury, lead, PCBs currently in our service building and reactor building. And then also, before we demolished the non-nuclear buildings, we dug a trench around the whole building to really ensure that it was isolated. We're now going to, which was quite successful in progressing. We're going to now repeat that success for the rest of the nuclear buildings for the next year. Go next slide. So yeah, this is a shot there on you see the calandria face. They've done almost all the characterization work. Is just a little bit of follow-up characterization work this year to be done on the reactor, and the rest of the systems in the reactor building have been characterized now. And then now we're in the planning for decommissioning and working with a contractor partner to decommission the rest of the systems. Next slide. Now, on top of all the decommissioning, we perform storage surveillance as part of our mission, and that maintenance includes some of that is a project as well. There's a sump pump replacement that's winding down in a couple months, and that basically updates our sump pump system to be automated and really smooth that system and get it increase its functionality. And we're reconfiguring our alarm systems, our fire alarm systems, and we have ongoing mission to do a fuel canister inspection, number of items like that. Very important part of our mission is to can you keep up with storage surveillance. Okay, Margot, do you want to go over regulatory oversight?
Yeah, back to me. So next slide. So as Joe mentioned, we've got those 5 planning envelopes or work packages for the project. And right now we've got a 10-year license up to 2030 to complete the first 3. And Joe also mentioned we needed approval from the CNSC on each of the detailed decommissioning plans for those work packages or planning envelopes. And so we have the approval on the detailed decommissioning plans for the first 3. And then sometime before 2030, we'll need to apply for a licensing change. So that would be in order, that would enable us to complete the decommissioning of the spent fuel canister area and the reactor building itself. Next slide. So we also report to the CNSC on an annual basis with our annual compliance and monitoring report. And that covers our activities over 15 different safety and control areas. And I wanted to touch on a few of the highlights from the 2024 annual compliance and monitoring report. So first, all licensed activities continue to be carried out safely and securely. So a really big win was that we had no lost time injuries at the site. And then all releases were below the derived release limits. And so we're talking very, very much below, less than 0.01%. So very small, very minimal. And then as a part of improving housekeeping and our housekeeping improvement, there was a hazard reduction campaign, and non-radiological waste and radiological waste were removed from the facility. This resulted in an effective reduction of fire load within the facility and potential dose to workers. So that's a really positive thing to make sure that we're able to complete the decommissioning safely and protect in a way that's protective of workers. We also had some progress on waste removal. We had 7 low-level waste shipments, 14 hazardous waste shipments, around 25 shipments of material for recycling and reuse, and around 25 shipments of conventional waste. And so each of those waste streams goes to the appropriate facility. So low-level waste goes to Chalk River for storage, and sometimes to the supply chain for waste minimization. And then we have the hazardous waste that's not radioactive going to licensed facilities that can manage that kind of waste. And so that is, next slide. So that's the end of our webinar, and we'll move into the Q&A portion, and I'll turn it back to Mike to facilitate that.
Okay, thank you guys. Great presentation, lots of information in there. So we will get going on the Q&A. So yeah, if you just use the Q&A function on your screen, you can type in questions, and we'll wait a few seconds to see if any come in. Okay, first question here. What will the end use of the decommissioned site be?
Okay, so maybe I'll take that. So, as of right now, our target is industrial reuse. So, exactly what that industrial reuse will be is outside the scope of our mission at this point. So I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be used for now. That'll be decisions made at executive level later. But our target right now is industrial reuse. Okay,
thank you. The next one is just a comment. Great work out there. So that's
thanks.
Awesome. Okay.
Mike, one thing I'll just add with the industrial reuse is that's also something that we're committed to engage on too, what the next land use looks like.
Okay. Is the Douglas Point decommissioning the first? I think
there's another. Yeah.
Oh,
there's one about the shipments.
Oh yeah. Do you have any idea how many more shipments of low-level materials will be shipped to Chalk River?
So we have done an estimate on that. So probably like 100 to 80 more like fully loaded containers just of LLW. As we get into the reactor building itself, that's probably we anticipate generating the most amount of LLW. So
okay, thank you. Is the Douglas Point decommissioning the first of its kind? I know Pickering has been decommissioning as well. So is there any collaboration there?
There's no direct collaboration with Pickering. Many elements of this decommissioning are first of a kind, especially when it comes to the reactor removal. Where is the? I can keep going here too, I guess.
No, well, yeah. So, where in Chalk River is the LLW being stored? So that's kind of out of scope. Like we can just say that it's safely stored in Chalk River. We can't really give a location of where it's going to be stored.
The only thing I'll add to that is we recycle, like we take a lot of our waste from metal melt, which is with with one of our contracting partners, in which case that LLW does not end up at Chalk River. It ends up in shielded blocks, which are sold to across the industry. Yeah, as you said, Mike, as far as exactly where the residue ends up, that's,
Okay.
I can't say exactly where in Chalk River.
Okay. During the decommissioning work, how was vibration being monitored and managed to minimize implications to surrounding sensitive equipment?
Okay, sure. So we have a number of vibration monitors set up around site, around the fuel canisters, close to the reactor building especially, but also across site more generally. They've been the alarm. They're set basically to remote alarm if they exceed. So it took a long time to sell with engineering, but we do have vibration limits and time durations for those. And those are monitored with our vibration monitoring equipment, which so far has never alarmed during our decommissioning so far. But before we even started this, we chose intentionally low vibration techniques, so that if you know anything about the turbine building, it's got this massive 3-story concrete pedestal in the center. So that's being that's being cut with concrete diamond wire saws. Is a low vibration techniques, just to reduce any risk to vibration damage to the canisters.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's
awesome. Will ACL continue to use this land, or will Bruce Power use this area?
Maybe I can speak to this one. So as Joe had mentioned earlier, our commitment to ACL is to clean up the land to industrial reuse standards. And then that decision on what happens to the land is with Atomic Energy of Canada.
Okay, thank you, Margot. What is the plan for the calandria? Abandoned in place and cover, or total removal?
Total removal.
Okay, short and sweet.
Yeah, well, it just panned out. So we do have another team within CNL, specifically they call it Reactor Seg, specifically whose mission it is to segment in place and remove the calandria. But the idea is that when we leave site, it'll be underground structures that are clean, backfilled to at least 1 meter below, and then put to grade.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Is any of the low-level waste cleaned or treated on site before leaving? If so, how are the risks of release mitigated?
So we try not to do, like, other than we do decontam just for a worker to work around, but as far as reclassifying waste, that is not something we do on site. We will, I guess the resin tanks are the great example of this, right? Where we package that in appropriate TDG shipping packages, have that leave site, and then it's cleaned and treated offsite at a contracting partner site who's set up to do this. But typically, we're not. We don't have facilities to do a lot of that right on site.
Okay, thank you. So we'll just wait a minute or two to see if any more come in. There we go. Has CNL mostly been working with contractors or full-time employees on this project?
So we certainly have full-time staff, and their mission is, the SW storage surveillance is done by full-time staff. There's a few projects like characterization, which CNL has taken on, but the majority of physical demolition and decommissioning is done with contracting partners. So a bit of both.
Okay. Okay. So a question about the proximity to the body of water adjacent to the facility. Is there any concern with the waste you're taking out with the closest to the body of water?
Well, I mean, we certainly have like environmental monitoring campaigns and and stuff like that to ensure that there's no releases and that kind of stuff, and that's very closely monitored. As far as the removal of LLW, it's just within that framework, right? Like so, any job we have has an environmental assessment that goes along with it to ensure that we're not impacting that of course takes into consideration our proximity to Lake Huron.
Okay, thank you. How will decommissioning efforts create and support the knowledge required for building future reactors? That's a bit of a tough question, but do you have any insight on that?
For Bill, I mean, Douglas Point fundamentally, when it was operating, really was vital in creating new reactors, right? Like the information gained during that. As we get further into reactor segmentation, which we're just at the tip of, as far as building new reactors, I question how much knowledge would be gained there, but certainly in decommissioning other reactors is going to be very critical knowledge.
Okay. So just a clarification on where is the non-reactive waste going?
Maybe.
Go ahead, Margot.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think this is non-radioactive waste.
Yes, sorry,
So
yeah. So
yeah,
non-LLW, so clean and hazardous and
Yeah, so clean waste, typically we recycle it. The metal goes straight to recycling. The concrete can be recycled with its fill. So almost all recycled. Asbestos waste, stuff like that, that is not contaminated. There are landfills that'll take it. Not in that area. There are special landfills we have agreement with that take that.
and
Um,
sorry, Joe, maybe we can just go over, I don't remember if we went over this, but how we know that waste is what it is. Like we know it's non-radioactive because of our
sure.
sampling and testing.
Yeah, we characterize it first off. It gets characterized, it gets monitored, and checked again before it leaves, before the packages actually leave. So there's quite a layers of checking that's done.
And characterization looks like they take actual samples of the material and then send it away for laboratory testing, right? Like
Yeah,
physical
both. So
samples.
they monitor with with the instruments to survey an area, and then they also take physical samples of of what's going to be demolished.
okay. Awesome, thank you. Margot, maybe this one too, you can be involved in just the CNSC's uh, role, I guess, during decommissioning. This question's asking about site inspections, but um,
I can,
okay, yeah, go ahead.
It's a Joe question.
so the answer
Oh,
is,
sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
the answer is absolutely. CNSC has regular inspections on the sites, and we have basically a CNSC member who are a regular contact as well, but they do have regular inspections on the site.
Okay.
And we'll continue to until we're done, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Basically, tell you where.
Okay, awesome. Lots of good questions. That was pretty quick. It's only been 31 minutes, but that's a that's a lot of information in half an hour. Um, so as they start to the questions start to die off here, we will yeah, we'll probably if any more come in, we definitely take a look at them, and then whenever we send out the YouTube link, we'll answer any questions that we don't get to, because sometimes the questions come in late, like after we end. Just the timing with technology. All right, so let's go to okay, so we'll do kind of our exit here. So thank you for attending the webinar today. Just a reminder to please, if you have the time, to complete our follow-up survey that we'll be sending out shortly. So yes, when we put this on YouTube, it usually takes about a week to get it up on YouTube, to get the recordings and to answer all the questions. We'll we'll link it to everyone that's signed up today. And if you have any questions after the fact, you can always get in touch with us at ermstakeholder@cnl.ca. Joe, Margot, thank you both for taking the time to do this today. Lots of great information and lots more to come as we move farther in this project. So thank you both, and thank you everybody for tuning in today. And just a reminder, we do have another webinar coming up at 10 o'clock on Whiteshell. So if you're signed up for that, we will see you shortly. Okay, thank you everybody.